Hey, before we get into this episode, have you seen that my new book is out? It's called Stop Selling and Help Them Buy Weddings and Events. And it's a book that you helped me write because you would ask me at a conference, which of your books has what you just spoke about on stage? And if it wasn't in any of my books, I'd say it's in the next one. Well, here it is. Here's the next one. How to respond to reviews. What if you don't like doing sales? The 3 questions to ask every prospect, or they can't ask for what they don't know exists. These are just some of the chapters in there. And the beauty is you don't have to read it front to back. You can jump around to any chapter, kind of like my other book, Wit, Wisdom, and the Business of Weddings, where you can jump to any chapter because they're not necessarily connected to one another. And if you want to get free shipping on a paperback copy, go to shopalanberg.com and use the coupon code podcast. That's shopalanberg.com. Use the coupon code podcast. Get free shipping on me. Otherwise, it's on Audible. It's on Kindle. And if you go to podcast.allenberg.com, the links are all there as well. Thanks. Are dress codes still a thing? Well, listen to this episode and find out. Welcome to another episode of the Wedding Business Solutions Podcast. I'm your host, Alan Berg. I'm a speaker, author, sales trainer, website reviewer, and I help businesses like yours sell more, profit more, and have more fun doing it. Enjoy this episode. Hi, it's Alan Berg. Welcome back to another episode of the Wedding Business Solutions Podcast. I am honored to have on a friend of a friend to talk about this, who is an expert. Her resume is amazing as an attorney. Davida Perry. Davida, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Alan.
Oh, thanks. So I saw this article. I told you this when I reached out to you. I saw an article about dress codes and what can you tell people to do, and visible tattoos and things like this at work. And my wife and I started talking about it and realized that we're in our own bubble. We're of a certain age. We knew what was expected when we went to work, back in the day, and, even now. And we noticed that it's different. It's different now, what might or might not be acceptable. I'm not even sure if it is acceptable. And this is why I wanted to bring you on, because we see things and sometimes scratch our heads and go, is that allowed? So tell us a little bit, give a quick little background on yourself, and then talk a little bit about this.
So thank you. Thank you for all of that. And thank you for having me. I'm an employment lawyer. I represent employees, not employers, in claims of discrimination in the workplace. And I've been doing it for almost 40 years. And boy, oh boy, has it changed over that many years of practice. Essentially, when I say changed, the categories of individuals that are protected by the human rights law have changed over time. My dad, who founded my firm, used to say that the law is very smart, and it is. It knows who needs protection. And so we've grown over the years. Dress codes. So dress codes are okie dokie at work. Employers can, mandate a way that they want their employees to appear. And as long as that dress code is being uniformly implemented, meaning one category of person isn't being targeted by the dress code, it's going to be fine. And if you want to keep your job, you're going to have to adhere to the dress code.
Okay. Well, I just want to remind everyone, we are not giving legal advice here, even though you are a lawyer, because we do have people all over the country and around the world, and it's going to be individualized. But from this standpoint, so you said by category. So in other words, we can tell waiters they have to dress a certain way, but managers can have a different.
Right.
Okay.
Right. You can't just have a uniform for the women, but allow the men to wear T-shirts and jeans at work, while the women are wearing this sort of onerous, uniform. That wouldn't be fair. It needs to be uniformly implemented. There are certain jobs where I won't name any particular employers, but by the nature of the job, the attire is going to be a little bit risque, let's just say. And again, as long as that uniform, air quotes around the words uniform, is uniformly being implemented, it's going to be okay. There are certain types of clubs and restaurants where the whole nature of the business is to present the staff a certain way. I'm trying to stay away from the names
Well,
of.
and again, this is the wedding and event industry. But if we were to think of bachelorette parties or bachelor parties, hen parties, across the pond, there are hen parties and stag parties where that is part of that. It's not the main part of weddings, we would think. But that said, you might invite an entertainer of some kind who might have to dress a certain way. And we see it at industry events where people are showing off Cirque du Soleil type performers and things like that, where they dress a certain way. So let's get back to, I know you did air quotes around uniformly. So let's just talk about uniform for a second. What's the difference between saying to someone you have to dress a certain way and making that becoming a uniform?
So I think you can say, for like a law firm, you want the person, I would think, that you want the person sitting at the front desk to have, whether it's, any gender, a professional look. You don't want them wearing a t-shirt and jeans, let's say. You want them to have, it could be very general when you say professional. It could be from anything from a suit and a tie for a man, or a blazer and a pantsuit for a woman, to just a nice blouse and slacks or skirt or something like that. So I think it could be when it's just sort of a guide, it's much more general and wide ranging. When you say a uniform, you think of it as, this is the specific blazer you're going to wear, and these are the specific pants you're going to wear. Like a flight attendant, they're given sort of a different categories. The women are given sweaters and skirts, and there's also pants that they can wear. So there's sort of a few variations of the uniform, but it is a uniform that's mandated by the employer. I hope that is answering.
Well, and that brings up the point. So if it's mandated by the employer, does the employer have to pay for it?
Some employers pay for it. Some employers pay for one of them, and then one outfit, and then the employee buys the rest. I've seen many different, larger employers are able to provide more. Some just provide one or two. Some provide for cleaning the uniform, dry cleaning the uniform, or laundering the uniform. I've seen so many different ways that goes down that I don't know that there's like a clear-cut rule about it.
And in that case, it would be, you have to buy those particular clothes, and they would give you the resource to get those clothes. They might have logos on them, or in the case of flight attendants, there's obviously certain ones there. So that to me is kind of also the line where you have to buy these clothes as opposed to you have to dress in this manner. Right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. Agreed.
Okay. So, I had a call from a client a few years ago. Is a caterer, and they're a medium to high end caterer. And the owner and his principal were having this discussion. I'm going to call it a discussion. It might have been an argument, but having a discussion. And they said, we need to call Alan to break this tie. So one of them wanted the wait staff to wear a black shirt with their logo on it and jeans. And the other one said black shirt with logo, black pants. And that was the argument. It was all about the pants. And they contacted me and they said, what do you think? I said, no jeans. You're a medium to high end caterer, and guests coming to this event and this couple who's paying a lot for this wedding should not be seeing your people in jeans, unless you're doing a barbecue, you're doing something where jeans would be what the guests are going to be wearing. That would make more sense. And I heard this sigh of relief from one of them, and kind of from the other one, because they didn't agree with it. And what got me was, well, what does jeans mean these days? Right? I mean, gosh, light jeans, dark jeans, black jeans, jeans with holes in them. Let's talk about jeans with holes in them. If jeans are acceptable, are holes acceptable?
So jeans with holes in them could be really, really expensive. It could cost you like $500 for a pair of jeans with holes in them, but they still they're still jeans with holes in them, regardless
Right.
of how much they cost. So,
Right.
and they look a certain way. They're very casual. Maybe they're kind of cool, but if you're not going for that vibe, I don't think they
Right.
belong. I mean, if I was a high-end caterer and the guests were going to be all dressed up in their fancy attire, even
Right.
though the jeans may have cost a ridiculous amount of money,
Right.
they don't belong. And the catering company has the right to say, it doesn't matter how much you spend for them, they
Right.
just look too casual. I want the black pants. It's
Right.
classier, it's more high end. Yeah.
And you could say no black jeans. You could just say black slacks, but no jeans, right? There's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
thing there,
Black jeans are still
right?
jeans. They're just jeans that are black.
And I've seen discussions online. I saw one recently where someone was complaining about a provider who was at the wedding. So, there are certain people that provide services that are not seen, right? The kitchen staff is usually not seen, although they do have dress codes in the kitchen, right? They're going to wear their whites and their certain pants and things. People do have their choice of patterned pants and things a lot of time in the kitchen. But if you're supposed to wear your whites with your name on it, you're wearing your whites with your name on it. But it was about one particular supplier who was complaining about another one who was there, and they felt they were underdressed for this. So now this is probably a solopreneur. This person could have been a solopreneur. I'm just going to say it was a videographer, right? And this photographer or DJ or whoever it was that mentioned this, noticed that they seem underdressed for the occasion, right? Now, again, they're not a guest, but could a couple say to their person, I want you to dress a certain way, right? Is that?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I mean, at a black tie wedding, do you, even though the videographer is going to be behind a camera, I mean, you kind of want them blending in with the rest of everybody's, the guys are
Right.
wearing tuxedos, the women are wearing
Right. Well, a
gowns.
lot of times I'll see the photographers and videographers wearing black pants, black top, but
Right,
so they can move, right? They can still move around. My niece got married last November. There were 3 photographers there, and they were all wearing, black pants, black tops, because they have to run around, they have to move, but they weren't dressed up. This was a black tie wedding, by the way, but they didn't seem dressed down. I think what stood out about this one is it could have been that they were wearing a t-shirt that looked like a t-shirt or looked old. Because like you said, you could buy a $500 t-shirt, right? It's still a t-shirt, but does it look like that? Or does it look old, faded, torn, whatever those things are that made them
right,
stand out? Like Sesame Street, one of these things is not like the others.
right.
So,
I mean, if they're standing out sort of in a negative way, I think
right,
it's the wrong way to go. Like
right,
maybe, they're not going to wear a tuxedo because they can't really move around, but a
right,
button down black shirt
right.
is much better than a black t-shirt.
Right. And there was a time, I remember when I started in the industry, photographers were almost always in a black suit, sometimes in a tuxedo if it was, and maybe you have to get one with a little more room in it or something, but
Yeah.
to do that, and men and women, I'd see, female photographers that were wearing black suits, right? That was because they were dressing up for it. All right. So let's cross into another area here. Um, Religious attire, hijabs, yarmulkes, turbans, things like that. Um, at, at what point does the employer have any control over that?
So the employer has no control, I should
Okay.
say, if the employee holds a sincerely held religious belief and is required to wear that attire that you just listed as part of their religious beliefs.
Okay.
So the yarmulke, the hijab, all those,
Right.
religious garb.
Could I ask a Muslim woman to wear a black hijab as opposed to, I'm not saying don't wear a hijab, but if the dress code is we wear black, could I say, wear a black hijab?
I mean, I guess I would say if black is the color that you want the rest of if we're talking about a wedding, that you're asking every other service provider to wear. Otherwise, it seems like you might be singling that person out. I'd want to know more about
Well,
why
so
that
let's
request
say
was
black
made.
is the air quotes uniform. So we're asking all of our team to wear black top, black slacks, and you're going to, or a black skirt, or, again, because if they're going to be covered from head to toe, totally understood. Long black sleeves. You have a choice of that professional look. Uh, is it appropriate, or is it acceptable to say, again, we love that you respect your religion, and we respect your religion. We're wearing black. Would you wear a black hijab? Is that something we could ask? Can we? Certainly we can ask it. Can we mandate it if we're mandating
I,
the rest of the black?
yeah, I mean, I don't see why you couldn't, as long
Okay,
as you're not just picking on one person. It's all about equality,
right,
right?
right,
So any of the requests, as long as they're equal,
right.
I would think it's fine. And I don't see why, unless black is a problematic color for that
Well, that
religion, why?
right, and that's what I was going to get into, because with turbans, the colors do mean something. Right, you
Right.
can tell by the turban which particular religion or sect that they belong to. So that would be again, I would understand that would be a problem, and I could never imagine asking someone to wear a different color turban,
Right.
because it does now take away the whole significance of that.
Right.
Okay, all right. So I just wanted to bring that out because I kind of knew the answer, but I was just hoping that there
Yeah.
wasn't something
Yeah.
hidden. Now, something we were talking about offline. This was also in this article, visible tattoos. And I had said it. I don't have any tattoos. I don't plan on getting any tattoos. It's just that's my personal thing. It appears to me, being of a person of certain age, that there's a whole lot more ink visible than there was 10, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, a whole lot more. And again, there were tattoos back then. Seems to be a lot more visible ink these days. What are the, I don't know, guidelines, rules, laws when it comes to visible ink?
So tattoos are not protected as of today. I think some states have introduced bills. It's considered, freedom of expression, artistic freedom of expression. Actually, New York City might have introduced a bill to protect tattoos, but as of now, I'm not aware of any state. I'm not an authority on
Right,
on all the states
right,
that protects tattoos. So, if I remember somebody that we interviewed many years for a position as a receptionist at our law firm, and she interviewed for the position, and she was all buttoned up and completely covered, and she had a great resume, and we hired her, and she came to work, and she was covered in tattoos, visible ones, and she wore the skimpiest of attire. And we were all completely shocked and a little sort of paralyzed in what we should do. She was very lovely and we liked her very much. And she stayed for a very long time. And we never, said anything, but we could have said, please wear, please cover your tattoos,
Well,
don't.
so skimpy attire, not appropriate for a law firm or your law firm. I'm not going to say any law firm, for your law firm, not appropriate. You could
Right.
ask her to not wear skimpy attire, but that doesn't
Correct.
mean long sleeves and whatever.
Right.
But what you're saying is, because it's not protected, you could say, we need you to cover those up.
Right. We
And,
could have said we need you to cover up. And if she had said, nope, this is me, this is how I want to portray myself, she would be making a choice and we would have been within our rights to say this isn't working for us and to let her go without worrying that we were going to, receive a lawyer's letter.
right. Okay. So interesting, not protected, definitely freedom of expression. I remember I was getting eyeglasses one time and the guy was wearing long sleeve where everybody else was wearing short sleeves. And it was because he was in the process of having a sleeve tattoo done. It wasn't quite done yet. He was doing that, but his employer did not want it shown because some of their customers, much more conservative, maybe some older folks or whatever, might not be as open to that and could be a distraction. I guess that's the thing with any clothing, right? A receptionist
Right.
who's dressed inappropriately is a distraction from the
Totally.
mission of the business.
Right.
Okay.
We were taught, my daughter has a lot of tattoos. She had a job and the employer asked her to cover them up. So she wore a sweater, in the warmer weather when maybe we would be wearing short sleeves. She wore a nice professional sweater.
Right.
It's just what you have to do. They have the right to. They have the right to make those decisions as of right now.
Right. And I think for people listening, if you're at all concerned about this with your clients, I think you should ask them. I have many of our people, have body ink, and, what is the dress? How are you dressing for your wedding? How are you guest dressing for your wedding? How would you like us to be? I know some DJs that can be anything from a tuxedo down to, shirt and pants, depending upon the type of event. I do the same thing, kind of BC, before COVID. That's my new BC, is before COVID.
Before COVID.
I was almost always in a suit and tie. And that kind of differentiated me from other people because people had been dressing down. And now I find myself more casual, where it's a sport jacket and sometimes jeans, depending upon where I'm going to be, knowing who the audience is. If my audience is going to be suits and ties and dressed up, I'm going to dress that way. I'm going to match them. But I noticed that most of my audiences were not. There might be a couple of people that will show up that way. But if most of the audience is not, I'm kind of matching them because it just looks like you're one of us, right? As opposed to different. And I guess that's kind of the point, right? If people feel comfortable with you, if they're not noticing the way you're dressed, then it's probably good, unless your business is style, right?
Right.
If your business is fashion, then yes, I know there are a lot of speakers who speak on style. Well, you pretty much should be stylish if you're getting up on stage.
Right, for sure. Right. Yes, I totally agree with what you just said. If you're blending in and if people aren't, distracted by you, then you're doing the right thing. Right. I've been suffering with a little bit of a bad back for the past few weeks, and I've been wearing their very nice sneakers when I go into my office. And when someone sees me, for whatever the reason is, I feel the need to apologize for wearing sneakers. I mean, I look perfectly professional, head to toe, but these nice sneakers. Right. And there was a client in the office that was seeing my partner, and he introduced her to me, and I apologized to her for wearing sneakers and explained that it was because of my back. And she's like, do not say another word. Our vice president is wearing sneakers with her suit. It is a total power move. You look so cool in those sneakers. And I said, a power move? I'm never apologizing for wearing sneakers again.
Right. But that was you feeling uncomfortable because your uniform, air quotes, had changed.
Right.
And the same with me. When I was wearing suits and ties, I would get Rockport dress sports. So they looked like a wingtip, but they kind of had a sneaker inside and a rubber sole because I'm standing on concrete a lot of times, things like that. And now Cole Haan is my best friend. Right. And Cole Haan has just these, like, it'll be, the top will be this leather wingtip and the bottom will be white. And I never would have worn that. And I'll wear that with a suit. I was going to get black, and I found these kind of speckled black, gray, whatever. Again, cloth looks like a wingtip, but it's a Cole Haan, and my back, I have some back issues too. My back is better for it.
Right,
and I can't tell you how many times somebody has commented in a positive way, like, hey, cool shoes. Right.
Right. Exactly. So I feel much better. I don't know if I have the nerve to go to court that way. I think I would wear my sneakers to court and bring my shoes, but it made me feel a lot better when somebody noticed me in a positive way. And I will no longer apologize for wearing sneakers to protect my back.
Yeah. What I found with a lot of people is, no matter your body type, if your clothes fit you well, you look better. Right. I'm not tall, and people very often who have not met me in person then meet me after they see me in a video or whatever. They're surprised that I'm not tall. I'm vertically challenged. And I've actually had people say that to me. I love your stuff. I thought you were taller. Like, really? And more than once, Davida, somebody has said that to me. But when you see me just in a picture, you can't tell because I don't look like I'm short in this suit because my suit fits me well. It's not too big. It's whatever. I haven't tailored, and they're not custom made either, but they fit me well. And it's the same thing with the clothing. You're rocking the sneakers for your back, but it works with your outfit. It works, right? That's the whole point. Okay. So just kind of recapping here. So dress codes are perfectly acceptable as long as they are applied equally to everyone in that role. And I think that's the important part. You can have different
Correct.
requirements. So again, the manager of a business can be different than their frontline people, but all the managers have to be treated equally on that.
Equally.
And not anybody different because of their gender identity, not different because of their age, not different because of any of that. However, again, if someone's religion is that they're covered from head to toe, they're covered from head to toe within those guidelines still, right? Still within the
Correct.
guidelines. Okay. Tattoos and body art. What about piercings?
Same, not protected, not right now.
That would be a little bit harder then. Because
Right.
some are visible, some are not. But that would be harder. Somebody comes in with a nose ring, or somebody comes in with a what are those called? Gauges, the big,
Right.
right. So you can't hide that. I don't know that you can. I don't think
You can't hide that. And if that look doesn't comport with the business you're running, and that's a problem for you, then
that's it.
you can make some
Right.
decisions about that.
And I think the whole key here is what's appropriate for your business. We were joking before that if we go to Trader Joe's, I think it's a requirement you have to have tattoos to work at Trader Joe's, because I don't know if I've ever seen somebody there that doesn't have them. And your Hawaiian shirt, because that's what they do. They have their Hawaiian shirts or their Trader Joe's t-shirts with the what is that, a lotus?
And that's a uniform. I would call that a uniform, but
right.
They all wear them.
Right. But everybody, their managers, everybody down is dressed that way, and they have their jeans on, and it's fine. And the body art, I expect it when I walk in there. I don't necessarily expect it when I walk into Nordstrom's, right? Or I don't necessarily expect it if I walk into, a place like that. But again, it's personal expectation. I guess if I had tattoos and I saw somebody that did, maybe I'm just be comparing now, like, hey, who did yours? And,
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a huge topic of conversation. The other thing I'll add, and New York City this just went into law like hours ago, now protects weight and height. So you can't fire someone or target someone or harass someone because of their height and weight, which I think is, as I said, the law, since I first started out, these are brand new categories of protection.
Right. So the Rockettes can't require you to be within a certain height range anymore?
It's brand new. It's a brand new. If it's strictly enforced, I would say no, they can't. Okay. There's always exceptions for safety, by the way.
Right.
Right. If the job requires that you be a certain height or weight to do something very strenuous, then they can make some rules around that because they don't want an unsafe workplace.
Right. Or if the physical environment is such that your height or weight, too big, too small, whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah. Not
for
exactly
all those categories, by the way, uniforms, the whole thing. Like there's always going to be an exception for safety concerns, but they need to be real. They can't just be made up. Right.
So you may be representing a 5'3" person who's going to try to be a Rockette.
Right. Exactly. I feel like we're manning the phones for next week now that this law has gone into effect.
Right. And, we understand why they did what they did for their uniformity, and within a certain amount, I guess the shoes could accommodate, right? So within a certain range, your shoe heel could make you taller or shorter, right? To make you all the same because they want to look. But again, then the question is, because it's the theater, right? It's not on the street or whatever. Is that a costume? I don't know. You're going to have to.
Well, they still have to be qualified to do the job. They're the Rockettes.
Right.
The synchronicity and whatever it is that they're all about.
Right. And again, not necessarily an extreme example, but certainly a visible example of something, back in the day, and this is way before my time, probably before your time also, where the flight attendants, right? Certain look, certain height, certain weight, right? Didn't they weigh them and stuff like that?
Yes, and they were called stewardesses, and they were all women.
That's right. Yeah. So, and we are thankfully way past that.
We're way past that.
Right. And advertising too, where we see in advertising much more diversity now, much more equity now, where we see ourselves on TV instead of we just see certain look.
Right. An image. Exactly.
A certain image there. So I could talk to you forever about this, but we don't have forever. So thank you so much for joining us. We're going to have the show notes there. We'll have if somebody wants to find out more about you or your social, whatever, or if somebody has a legal issue they would like to talk to a lawyer about that is under your purview. And again, you're representing employees.
Correct.
Not employers.
Not employers.
And that's the whole firm. That's the
Yes.
firm. Okay.
Yes.
Excellent. Fighting for the little guy. Love it. I love
Fighting
it.
for the little guy.
Fighting for the little guy. Well, somebody's got to do it, right? We love it there. So I'm so glad that Rob, I don't know if Robin's listening, but Robin Hatcher is the one that connected us over here. This is the power of my network, folks. I'm a certified speaking professional, and we have a little email group. And I said, who does this? And Robin's like, I don't, but I know somebody who does, and she's the best. So thank you so much for coming on here. I so appreciate it.
Thank you, Robin, if you're listening. Thanks, Alan.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Wedding Business Solutions podcast. If you liked it, please subscribe to this channel and post a review on your chosen platform, Apple Podcasts or whichever one. If you have any questions about anything in this episode or any of my episodes, email me directly at alan@weddingbusinesssolutions.com or visit my website, alanberg.com, alanberg.com. If you have any suggestions for future topics or guests that you'd like to see, please again, email me or visit my website. Thanks for listening.